We've been doing this special series sponsored by Upward Sports, and we have this overall overreaching title called Don't Fight Sports Leagues, Join Them. That was also the name of the first episode. If you missed it, go back and view it or listen to it. And by the way, if you are seeing us on YouTube, subscribe to us. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a good review. And we're trying to get more and more of a presence on YouTube. So all you YouTubers, hello. And for those of you who've been loyal listeners for years and years, listening to both Rainer on Leadership and This One Church Answers podcast, we're not asking you to move to YouTube. You can just continue to listen to us on your favorite podcasting app. I used to name all of them, but I got to thinking, which app you listen to it on, so you're good. So you can subscribe and you can give us a rating and review there as well. To get the word out, the way that we provide these as a free ministry is by you recommending people so that we have an audience, and then we have ministry partners that come on and fund these particular podcasts. One of our great ministry partners has been Upward Sports, and if you want to hear all the accolades I had about it, I got a bit enthusiastic in the previous episode because I'm discovering more and more how incredibly valuable Upward Sports is. I knew what they did for years. I just did not know how impactful it was until I really began to look into it. And I find myself not even on the topic of Upward, and I'm talking about them and what they can do for your church and what they can do to reach people in your community. And so we talked about sports leagues in the first episode. This is the second episode, and we're going to talk about assimilation for people who come to events at your church. Now, to be clear, an event is something that you invite the community to come to. That is inclusive of sports. So many times you'll think of an event as a one-time thing. I just want to be clear that for us, events is where you're having a big presentation of something to invite people in the neighborhood to come to your church. Well, the good thing about Upward Sports is it's not just one and done. Now, I understand fully that you can have one and done, or maybe multiple episodes of a Christmas presentation or Easter, or recently, or coming up, I should say, some type of Christian replacement for Halloween, like trunk or treat or whatever you call it. I don't think many churches call it that anymore. I understand you can have multiple things of that, but sports events are multiple ongoing as well. That's why they're so rich in doing so. So I just want you to hear that I'm including sports as part of the events. Now, you want to hear what the most common question is that I get about these events, including sports, including Christmas, including Easter, including whatever that you do on Halloween? Well, I don't know if you do or not because I can't hear you on this end of the recording, but I can go on and just presume you want to know. The most common question I hear is, how do we get these people to actually come to our worship services? In other words, how do we assimilate them into the church? If I've heard that question asked one time, I've heard it asked 10,000 times. And I don't think that's an exaggeration because I've been doing this since 1988, which means I'm old. I get that. But I've been hearing that question. Oh, no, how do we get people to come to church? We had, all of my churches had where I was a pastor, again, back in the prehistoric, kind of historic ages. And all of those churches, we always had a Christmas and Easter presentation. And in all of them, we didn't see hardly anybody come to the church as a result of it. In fact, I think we were reaching more people at those events coming from other churches and then going back to their church than reaching the unchurched world. So how then do you get someone to come to your church from an event? Well, it was Upward that got me looking into this. And you know me, I'm not the brightest bulb in the chandelier. But one thing I can do is I can listen and discover. And I've been listening to church leaders, the small minority who have been successful at having events and people ending up coming to the church. And it's so uncomplicated. It is unbelievable to me that we've tried to make it as difficult as it is. So the bottom line is, let's say you're having a sports league from Upward, or if you want to change it to a Christmas or Easter presentation, and you want people to come to your church. Well, there are two major steps that you have to take, but they're very simple. For most of these events, we advertise them. Oh, you may give members cards to hand out to people, and people are doing it kind of generically, maybe half-heartedly. Maybe a few people are enthusiastic, come to this Christmas event. But most of the time, you're putting it out on social media, like on Facebook or X, or you're doing some type of advertisement for it, or people. It might be such a big deal that people already know about it. I mean, I know some churches who've been doing Christmas events so long that they now have to have tickets, not necessarily sell tickets, but they have to have tickets just to make sure they have enough places for the community that wants to come. But even those churches that have been doing this forever, most of them say, we cannot get the people to come to our church. Now, why do you want them to come to church? Obviously, to hear the gospel. Now, they could be presented the gospel outside the church, but they will hear it on an ongoing basis. But even before that, you want them to, or possibly before that, you want them to come to church so that a relationship can be developed. Well, the simple solution to this is develop the relationship before the event. That's kind of counterintuitive. Develop the relationship before the event. That is a two-step process. One is to specifically invite someone to come with you to the event. Did you hear what I said? Specifically invite someone to come with you to the event. Come with you, not come by themselves. You might meet them outside the church facilities, or you may go have coffee with them right before you come, but you walk into the church building with them. That very act is taking away a barrier, the fear of being in a place I've never been before. Many of them in church maybe haven't ever been in a church before. We actually discovered this in a research project that we did, that the unchurched would like to come to church, but they're a bit anxious about walking into the building, especially by themselves. So step number one is invite them before the event. Not just hand out an invite card, but specifically invite them and walk into the church with them. Second step, very simple. Invite them after the event to go have a burger, cup of coffee, whatever you think, sandwich, whatever you think is affordable and doable and something that they would like to do after the event. 2 steps. Invite them before the event, go in with them, and then plan to do something after the event. Now, I don't have precise numbers, but I'm going to give you, I would call it good anecdotal evidence. If you do a general invitation for people to come to an event like a sports league, just general, you'll get somewhere between a 2 and 5% response. That's 1 out of 50 to maybe as high as 1 out of 20. If you invite them to walk into the church building with you, you're going to get as much as a 50% response rate positive. Again, my numbers are not research, they're anecdotal, but we have a lot of anecdotal information. However, if you invite them to come to the event with you and then take them for a cup of coffee or a sandwich or something after the event, the chances of them sticking with the church go all the way up to almost 80%. From 2%, 5%, all the way up to 80%. What do you think would happen in your church if people who came to events started coming to your church? 2 simple steps. Let's translate this into sports leagues. It may be easy to understand if it's Christmas or Easter, like a concert or a play, or you know what I'm talking about. So how do you do this with a sports event? Well, you may not have the opportunity to invite them on the front end because you don't know who's interested in what sports. But because it is ongoing, you can get to know people. And you're going to find someone, if you come to a sports event on a regular basis that is part of, say, the Upward League, you're going to get to know someone. Then you get to know them. That takes the place of the event invitation because you're getting to know them, you're developing the relationship, and then you specifically take them for meal or coffee afterwards. Hey, love for you to go have a cup of coffee with us, like to get to know you. After you've gotten to know them, at least initially in the sporting event. Once again, what you're going to see is an incredible assimilation rate. 2 simple things. Invite them before and go with them after. Invite them, walk into the building with them. Again, if it's something event like a concert, and then go have a cup of coffee or a meal with them. Or if it's a sports league, find someone that's there regularly, get to know them, that takes care of the pre-invitation, and then ask them if they could go to lunch with you after the event, depending on what time it is. It is that simple. And yet, for some reason, very few churches are doing it. It works beautifully with sports leagues because you can develop the relationship on an ongoing basis, not just on a one-time basis. This is how to assimilate people who come to events at your church. Or maybe we could just simply say how to get people into your church that you thought you would never have because you were told it could not be done. It can be done. Try it. See what God will do. Get connected with Upward. Set up an appointment with them, and you can start hearing about all that's going to happen in 2025. You really need to get working on 2025 now. You don't just start up a sports league overnight. Contact Upward at upward.org/churchanswers and let them know you're ready to talk about a sports league. It is doable. It is affordable. It is incredible. All of the above. And not only will you get them coming from the neighborhood to your church event like a sports league, you will eventually see them connecting with your church in worship services and groups as well. That's my 2 cents. I've got another 2 cents in this series sponsored by Upward. And we've been talking about, what do you do if you have an antagonistic relationship toward sports leagues? Well, don't fight them, join them. And in this one, we talked about assimilating them. Now we're going to kind of wrap this series up with a third one. If you'll just kind of put the pause button and then go to the third series, or if you want to take a break for a day or two, come back. We're going to talk about if your church is a neighborhood church, act like it. What does that mean? I'll talk to you about that in the next Church Answers special series sponsored by Upward Sports. Once again, make sure you go to upward.org/churchanswers and talk with them about setting up this particular sports league. We'll see you later.